Mercury Dasha. If Mercury is exalted in its own sign, in a friendly sign, or placed in the 5th, 9th, or 11th house, then during its Dasha there will be acquisition of wealth, improved reputation, increased knowledge, government support, successful events, happiness from the spouse and children, good health, availability of pleasant experiences, business profits, and other positive outcomes. So here we can see if Mercury is exalted in its own sign and in a friendly sign, then it will give auspicious effects. And so Mercury also functions exceptionally well in just a natural friend sign. Right? Mercury is highly adaptable and can work in various environments. It doesn't require as much a specific support from a sign to thrive. Mercury is able to blend into the environment and adapt itself to the nature of the sign it's in. And so, since Mercury is so adaptable and versatile, it can produce good outcomes even when in a friendly sign. And of course, the natural friendly signs of Mercury are that of Libra and Taurus and Leo. Parashara continues. If Mercury is aspected by a benefic planet placed in the 9th house or as the Lord of the 10th house, these favorable results will be experienced fully, bringing all-around happiness and success. So now Parashara singles out 3 factors as especially auspicious for Mercury. First, when Mercury is aspected by a benefic planet. Right? Mercury himself is a manifester, and when supported by another benefic planet, then it can create even more abundance in life. When placed in the 9th house, that attracts a more complete life, because then prosperity, career advancement, academic success, they become combined with wisdom and higher knowledge. And as the Lord of the 10th house, this is when Mercury becomes a really powerful indicator of career success and public recognition. If Mercury is associated with a malefic planet during its Dasha, there may be government punishment, strained relations with relatives, travel to foreign lands, reliance on others, and potential urinary health issues. So here we can see the inauspicious effects that come from the association with a malefic planet. So let's go through those effects one by one. Government punishment, right? When Mercury is associated with Saturn or Rahu, for example, then that can cause legal issues or restrictions from the government, right? Because Mercury rules the laws that govern civil life, and Saturn and Rahu can restrict those. And so that can then lead to fines and sanctions or some other type of difficulty related to bureaucratic matters. Strained relations with relatives, right? Mercury rules communication, and when afflicted by malefic, then it can lead to conflicts and disagreements with family members and friends. Travel to foreign countries. Yeah, Mercury is naturally curious, always wants to experience something new and exciting, and when it is connected to foreign factors, to Rahu, then it might want to travel to foreign countries and even stay there for a prolonged time. Reliance on others. Now this is interesting. Of course, we know that Mercury is the life coordinator, and when it gets afflicted by malefics, then it might not be able to take care of himself, right? And then it is forced to rely on other people's support. And then Parashara also mentions here urinary health issues. This is also interesting. Now, considering that Parashara just mentioned that when afflicted, Mercury can't manage its own life anymore effectively, this loss of control might even go as far as physical coordination. Mercury rules our nervous system and the coordination between the mind and body, and when severely afflicted, then a person can lose their mental capacity. They become confused and can't manage basic bodily functions anymore, such as urination. And so just like they can't coordinate their life anymore to take care of themselves financially, this can even go as far as not being able to coordinate the basic bodily functions. And then they end up losing their urinary control. If Mercury is placed in the 6th or 12th house, there will be financial losses from indulgence in excessive pleasures, health issues like rheumatism and jaundice, risks of theft, difficulties with the government, and loss of property or assets. So what effect is going to take place depends on the house. Mercury in the 6th house cannot manage day-to-day expenses efficiently, and so the person might spend too much money on unhealthy behaviors. And their unhealthy lifestyle can lead to disease. When Mercury is in the 8th house, there is risk of theft. Mercury rules communication and transaction, and when in the 8th house, the person can be vulnerable to theft, dishonest people, and scams. There can also be here difficulties with the government. The 6th house can give regulatory issues or misunderstanding. The 8th house, when it comes to the government, deals with problems with taxes, pensions, or social security. And the 12th house here can ultimately indicate criminal activity leading to a prison sentence. It also says here an effect is loss of property or assets, and of course when Mercury is in the 12th house, then a person can make mistakes in property investment and lose money. And really depending on the severity of Mercury's affliction in the 12th house, the property could be lost entirely. Parash also gives insights about the progression of Mercury Dasha. At the start of Mercury Dasha, there will be financial gains, improvements in education and happiness with children. In the middle of the Dasha, there will be recognition from the government, but towards the end, the Dasha will bring distress and challenges. So we've just learned that Mercury rules life coordination, life planning, our day-to-day functioning. And in general, the Dasha tends to therefore provide continuous and daily support. And in the beginning, particularly, there can be opportunities related to education, business, and career. And if Mercury is well placed, the progress and the gains will be steady. The middle of the Dasha will give growth in education, intellect, communication, and career, and that can give greater recognition and wealth. The end of Mercury Dasha is still favorable, but there can be significant stress and mental challenges. The end of any Dasha actually slowly transitions into the next, and so at the end of Mercury Dasha, Mercury still wants to keep analyzing and holding on to something, but Ketu is already intuitively starting to let go. And so here Mercury is confused, and there's a sense that the old ways of thinking and solving problems, they don't work any longer. And what happens here is Mercury's clarity and control gradually fades out, and Ketu Dasha's energy of just surrendering and letting go comes closer. And this is what creates this anxiety and mental distress at the end of Mercury Dasha.